Hello and welcome to the Learning Experience, brought to you by Trainersforum. Hosted by myself, Oskar, and Mladen.
Hi everyone, this season Oskar and I will explore the science and art of learning and learning in non-formal education. So buckle up and enjoy this episode.
Welcome to a new episode of the Learning Experience. Today I have my guest, Philipp Effenberger. Hope I said your name right. We always get different last names. He is an Austrian, or at least living in Austria, a trainer and coach helping young leaders to improve their leadership skills or get to the next level in their leadership in their career. And also works as an NLP and social and soft skills trainer, and is a massive gaming nerd, as he told me just before. It's super fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Awesome. And today we're going to talk about negotiation and diving into how we can use negotiation as a professional skill, and also how we can make sure that negotiation helps us to set boundaries, but more importantly, advance us in what we truly want. So welcome, Philipp. It's great to have you. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing very good. Thanks. This is a lovely time, and I'm burning for leadership and for negotiation. So I'm curious, what would you like to know?
Awesome, man. Well, first, I'd love to know what made you so passionate about negotiation. Where did this come from, and how did you start?
Right. So actually, I'm half Austrian, half Polish. And, they say that the Polish people are the southern people of the north. I'm not sure if this is true, but I can agree that probably the temperament of my character and the drive for negotiation is something that I did get from this part of mine, because whenever I was in Poland and there was something to do that was somehow related with finances, it was negotiation time, baby. And that was really cool, because that already gave me the mindset that, okay, so that's the offer. The Austrian approach would be, okay, that's the offer, I will take the offer. The Polish approach would be more like, okay, that's the offer, now let's see how we can tweak it. And yeah, as I said, I'm very much interested in this, and it makes so much fun to actually try out those things and try to It's not about squeezing the other person, but finding the best possible agreement.
100%. Yeah, and one of the books that we'll dive into later, I totally resonate with what you were saying. So that brings up the question, what is negotiation then for you?
Ooh, okay, I see. So you would like to negotiate on this answer, right?
We can negotiate if you want. Maybe I'll have my own definition.
I guess so, yeah. For me, negotiation means finding the best possible common ground. And the important thing for me is, if you make a compromise, it's basically both people or all involved parties have some ground that they are losing. So for me, negotiation means create something new that suits both parties or all parties in the best possible way. And this can be something completely different than from what we started from originally. What would you say?
That's true. Yeah, I think, well, at least the way that I go into negotiation is to understand what the other party wants and needs, to understand how they feel. Because I think, being able to have a wider perspective instead of just coming from your own wants and needs is very important. So being able to understand what they want, and then seeing how you can fulfill that, along with basically getting what you want, creating a win-win situation. And otherwise making sure that you know what you don't want, so you stop it if it goes too far. I think that's important as well.
That sounds very good. Very good. I love it.
Awesome, man. So how did you learn about negotiation and get into these details?
Well, as I said, whenever I was in Poland, I always got this role model behavior from my parents, that actually from my mother, that, okay, so this is the situation. Let's see how we can adjust it, how we can improve it. And she was rather relentlessly trying to bargain with people. So this is something that's still somewhere stick in my head. So that's not exactly the major part of negotiation. It's just a part of it, because negotiation for me does not mean that you bargain the last possible cent out of an offer. For me personally, it started when I was, I'd say when I was about 15. I was in school in a direction where we were supposed to learn about geometry and drawing in a geometric way. And the other people from my class, some of them actually, were in the specialty class for IT. And IT was super cool. And it was like, oh yeah, I would like to do IT. You can play all the time around there. So the nerd part was already active at that age. But it was actually talking to the teacher, and she said to me, well, you cannot switch because you were supposed to switch like 2 years ago when this specialty started. And there I just started talking with her. Okay, so what do I need to do in order to actually still manage it? And I was rather unforgiving when she was telling me, no, it's not possible, because no is just another way of finding a different direction that you can start off to go. And eventually she said, okay, so if you manage to learn everything that my pupils learned the last 2 years, then you can switch.
Wow.
So that was basically my first big negotiation. It involved, for me, doing like 2 years of learning within a summer holiday. But I managed, I switched, and it was my first big negotiation as a child back then. Now it's a bit different. Now the negotiation stakes are slightly higher.
Yeah, I want to play computer games. Let me.
No, it's very tough if you negotiate with yourself. Like, should I play now or should I still do the work? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's even tougher. We can get into that after. Negotiating with yourself, that's a different ball game. Huh? What you were saying of, basically, you didn't accept that she was saying that. Well, actually, often people see that situation of saying that, no, you would have to have done all this.
Yep.
And that's like initial no. Often people say it as like, okay, it's done. And also depends on what culture you're coming from. But like you're saying, yeah, the Polish people seem to have an advantage of realizing that no isn't always a no. And no, I know, as a Swiss person, well, I grew up mostly in Switzerland. Yeah, Swiss people are like quite square in terms of what is yes and what is no, and you just accept what it is. But luckily, I've surrounded myself with quite a lot of Latinos and South Americans. My roommate is Argentinian, and he negotiates for everything, which makes it super cool. He doesn't take no as an answer at all. So it's very inspiring. And yeah, love to know, how can you understand how to get around those situations when somebody tells you that you should have done it 2 years ago, and instead of saying, okay, I guess I'm too late, then knowing that, what would be a question that you could ask in that moment to understand if that's really a no or not?
A very good point, because a no is actually more stable and more authentic usually than a yes. So imagine the salesperson calling you at the phone or in the store and like, yeah, do you like water? Would you like to have clean water? Do you think clean water is healthy for you? And then would you like to buy this car for 1 million? For like, it's the typical yes slide, and something that most of the salespeople that I'm working with or worked with initially always say, like, you have to use the yes slide. And the yes slide is basically questions that you can answer with a yes. Yeah, so of course a yes is always a yes, right?
A yes is always a yes, but no is not always a no.
Yeah. So the interesting part here is, if a yes is always a yes, does it always mean yes? And there the answer, from what I found in my experience, is definitely no. Most of the time when people say yes, it's more like a cautionary or a yes with a lot of background meaning, or I would like to know more, so I say yes, but I don't actually mean yes. And this, what I actually mean if I say yes, is most of the time hidden, especially in sales situation, often in negotiation situations, very often in coaching situations, because people just say yes in order to omit the actual problem. And the interesting thing, when you ask a question that triggers a no response, you can, in nearly all cases, you can expect that this no is actually what it's supposed to mean. So do you mind talking to me right now?
I don't mind. No.
Yeah. So there would be a no question. And there I know, okay, you actually mean it. If I say, if I ask it in a different way, for instance, is it interesting for you to talk to me right now? Then yeah, of course you will hopefully say yes now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise I wouldn't be here. But the no gives me a certainty where I can continue from. And that's the huge difference when you use no-oriented questions.
That no has more certainty. And so how can we get people to that situation then? First of all, just to maybe give some context of like, where would you use this? Is it in all negotiation that you would want to try this out, of like getting a person to a no, would you say?
Well, there are only negotiations that actually use no where you move forward, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the interesting part. I would say a yes builds a ladder, and you can climb up this ladder, but you never know whether this ladder is actually supported by being put on a wall and where you can cross over something. And no builds a pile of stones that you can stand on. And wherever this pile of stones is placed, you can always go in a certain direction. And you know that below yourself, there is a foundation. You know that whatever is below yourself will support you. So when I ask a person in a negotiation, for instance, is this a good price for you? And the person says no, then I know that the price is not good. What I don't know is what exactly is not good in the price. And there I can start from there. Okay, so you seem to be not happy with the pricing. What would you like to have? Or I just stay with the first sentence. You seem not to be happy with the pricing. And then the person usually, when being labeled in this way, the person usually will be like, okay, well, it's not the price, it's actually the offer, because I would like to have one more session, or I would like to have additional materials, or I would like to have a package that actually keeps me busy for the next few months, where I know that I get continuous service from you. So if I use this labeling in combination with the no questions, I can actually create a very strong foundation and a very strong direction where I can overcome problems that might arise in a negotiation.
Yeah. And now that's super clear. Yeah, basically, just make sure I understand it. You're saying that if you have a yes, then it feels like you can't even ask any more questions, because the guy's like, he's decided that, yeah, it's fine. But what if there's so many other assumptions that can come with that yes? Because there might be a misunderstanding. But if there's a no, then you know that there's just one aspect of whatever you're negotiating about that he doesn't or she doesn't agree upon. But you can ask what else. How can you make that better, right?
Yeah, I would say it's not necessarily just one aspect, but you can precisely ask for the aspect. You can figure out what is what's the grain of salt in the machine that you need to remove in order to make the machine work smoothly. So when you use this labeling, it's literally, it seems like you are the period.
Yeah.
There is no I think that you seem like, or something like that. There is just the simple statement. You seem like, you look like, it feels like you are whatever, something unhappy, or it seems like you are bothered by the situation right now, or it looks like there is something on your mind.
Yeah. What does that do when you're pointing out these things?
So it seems like you are slightly confused.
Sure. I would like to know more information.
So your answer gives me the hint that you are not actually confused, but that you are more curious. So by intentionally giving my observation a label, I could trigger a response from you that I can actually resolve. And that's a beautiful thing. So this is something that you can use very easily in negotiations, in any kind of negotiations at that point, because you can use it in in job interviews. You can use it in high stakes negotiations. You can use it with your partner at home when it's about who is going to put all the dishes into the dishwasher. So yeah, you can use it everywhere.
Yeah, I guess it's a skill that you become more rapid at as you practice. Because if I ask my roommate to put the dishes in the dishwasher and he says no, I'd be like, what do I do now? And then I would need to think fast on my feet. But I guess in thinking about this, I could ask him, well, what would I ask him? What does no really mean for you? What would be a question I could ask there?
For instance, yeah, you seem a little bit cocky about not putting the dishes in, and then just like wait, what comes up there? Like, wait, what? What do you mean? Well, no, I'm not cocky. Actually, I just don't want to. And well, if somebody says I don't want to, so okay, how am I supposed to do that if you don't want to and I don't have time, for instance?
Yeah,
it's actually another great tip.
Mm-hmm. And so there you're basically like labeling, and I think that's something that you wanted to talk a little bit more about. So what are you doing there? You're assuming, or what exactly about emotions?
So labeling usually has a very bad label, pun intended. Usually when we use terms like labeling, it's actually something like, for instance, Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of labeling going on there in the conversation there. When I talk about labeling in the context of negotiation, it's about labeling emotions. So there's a difference. It's not the labeling of political views or adjectives that describe a person, but adjectives that describe the feeling or the impression that the person makes. There's a slight but very important difference. And as I said before, the most important part is when you use labeling, you are literally just saying it seems like, it looks like, it feels like, and then the label. So it looks like you are confused, period. Pause, silence. And then something will happen because the other person receives this label, and the difficulty is to just shut the hell up until the other person processed it. And if you can manage that, you will get so much more information from the other person, and thus become able to adjust your offer or to find something that suits both of you. So that's the beauty of labeling.
Wow. And how could you give an example of how could this be used in, for example, in trying to improve your career or get into a leadership position? As you said, this is something that you do, and also it helps with like potential listeners who want to negotiate for their career improvement, for example.
Okay, so there are a couple of examples in there. Let's imagine a job interview. And you present your case, you show your CV, and the other person's looking at it and like, okay. And you see the frown up here, the body language of frown on the forehead. And then you can literally just say, you seem like you're looking for something.
Okay.
And that's how long the pause and the silence can take, literally. And then the other person is very, very, very likely to say something.
Yeah.
You can use labeling or mislabeling. Mislabeling would be, you seem to be very happy. And then wait for the answer. And that's like intentionally mislabeling, which can also sometimes have the same effect. So that's a little bit of a experience if you label or mislabel. In both cases, if you use the proper thing, then the other person will start talking and explaining themselves or giving insight on their feelings or their thoughts they have at the moment. So you seem confused, or you're looking for something, would be a label you could use at the job interview. Imagine a meeting in your company, all the people are talking and it's crazy, like you just presented your project and everybody looks at you like, okay, but what there and what that and many questions. And there is one person in the room being completely silent. You can just, like, while everybody else is talking, you could ask this person, you seem to be agreeing with me, and then waiting for what comes. Maybe that person has exactly the necessary explanation for the others, or the other people, while incessantly asking you and bombarding you with questions, you could ask one person, it looks like you disagree with point XYZ, and that's one of the points in the project. And just wait what comes up. That the person says, maybe, no, that's perfectly fine. Notice there is a no. Point XYZ is perfectly fine. What I don't like is point ABC, because there we need more statistics, for instance. And then you get a way finer answer and a fine graded answer, even if you actually got questions initially.
Okay.
So that's another example.
Hello, learners. You've reached the midpoint of the episode. I wanted to let you know that the mission of the learning experience is to connect learners and educators throughout the world, which is the same for Trainersforum, which is how this podcast is hosted. Please go check out trainersforum.org on the website, or either on Facebook or on Instagram, to learn more and connect with other awesome people. The learning experience is also on Instagram at the learning experience with a dot between each word. And you can also check out myself as well as my co-host Mladen on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you use social media. It's my full name, Oskar Woehr, and all of these links will be in the description. Otherwise, hope you're enjoying the episode so far, and back to the show.
And in startups, when startup people find themselves, for instance, and they like, yeah, we will build the biggest new unicorn, we will be super important, and VCs will invest in us, and everything is going to be amazing. And then you can just, okay, you seem to agree on what your vision is. Just like, wait, if people actually know what the vision is. Especially with startups, it's important for them to have a common vision. And there it's also important to, be a bit more pushy, so that people actually are brave enough to exchange their vision.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And being able to get everybody's voice heard, and that's just a different topic. Yeah, interesting. So being able to point out what other people are potentially sensing. And when you were doing the negotiation workshop that I attended in the online training festival back in January, you were saying that it's very important to understand your counterpart's point of view and understand their drive, values, needs, and wants. And would you say that these techniques that you've just described are doing all those, or is there something else that maybe would help in understanding these things?
If these techniques do all those,
I mean, in terms of getting
that would be an example. Thank you, Oskar. You exactly, it worked. So I used our conversation as a live, living, and real example. So this was nothing staged. I literally repeated one phrase that you used, and that already triggered your wish to explain yourself in more detail. And that's amazing. This is a beautiful thing. This technique is actually called mirroring. And it's not the mirroring that you usually know from NLP context or neuro-linguistics programming, where you speak about mirroring the same body language, and the same body posture, and doing exactly the same position as the other person does. And sometimes it can be a little bit disgusting if you mirror everything exactly. But this technique is actually a very elegant, beautiful conversational technique where you literally repeat just the last couple of words or the most significant words. Like those words that were really emphasized, be it with body language or with voice or with pacing or something like that. So the most significant words or a phrase or the last couple of words. That's like a very easy technique how you can get the conversation going, and which is actually an answer to your question, because you ask how you can create a connection with the other people in order for them to share. It's a beautiful one.
Wow, that was pretty cool, man. Didn't expect that one actually. But yeah, mirroring is also one of my favorite ones. I just being able to like repeat the last few words of the sentence that other person said, just to get them to reveal more information. I guess that's very powerful.
And easy.
Yeah. But it requires active listening though, which you're not always doing, right?
That's true. Yeah, I would say active listening is one of those skills that are probably the most important skills in communication in all, because you need to listen to the other person in order to communicate effectively. If you are a great communicator for yourself, then who are you talking to? You need to have the other person in order to be a communicator that has a dialogue. So yeah,
100%.
Very important.
And what would you say that effective communication looks like apart from active listening?
Well, active listening is pretty much the thing there. If you listen actively, you know what the other person needs or misses or is afraid of, because all the techniques that I was presenting before or demonstrating before, they were basically me listening to what you were saying, and just out of what you said and how you said it, it was just packaging the right words into the structure of those techniques. So when I think about effective communication, it is active listening, because there you get actually the content and the most significant parts from the other person that are relevant to them, how you can connect with them, how you can be heard. And you just put it into all the communication techniques that you are able to use. And that's like the techniques are just the scaffolding in order to create the common building where you and your communication partner is in. You just use the scaffolding to create the facade, to create the levels, and where you create everything that's relevant for a nice, safe housing.
The building blocks. Yeah, man. One thing that I love about negotiation is how we can use it in sales. I think that's where you've used it as well, just in terms of maybe not when moving up a career, like you are technically selling yourself, but also as what I do is I'm a sales trainer, but I also have my own business, so I need to do a little bit of sales sometimes. And oftentimes people find this a bit weird, but from what you're saying, that negotiation really helps you to connect more authentically in terms of sales. I'd love to dive into that a little bit. Basically, how can we make sales feel better, more easy, or less icky, right, when negotiating? And we can even do like a what's it called, playthrough. Like if we have to negotiate something, maybe I'm selling, or you're selling me like $1 million worth of teacups, let's say. But I think that's way too pricey. Because I don't want that.
I bet you don't. What would you do with teacups? I mean, it's teacups. How many teacups can you use at once? Actually, how many teacups do you need?
I run a teacup business, so I'd say, yeah, maybe we sell.
Wait, didn't you say that you run a coaching business?
Yeah.
Because if you run a coaching business, yeah, go ahead.
Hypothetically, maybe I'll have some teacup merch soon. Who knows?
You know, it would be quite nice to have your own personalized, branded teacups for the people that come to you to your coaching.
That's true. But your teacups are quite expensive. Every day in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, price. What is price? What is price but a weird, obscure translation of value to something that has a couple of numbers? So no point there. When it comes down to communication and sales, I struggle to just sell random goods. That's not really my thing. So what I just demonstrated was just a sleazy salesperson just pushing and like, you have to, there is some random argument that would be good for your company. But yeah, that's not the point. It's way more important that you are ready to accept that whatever you want to sell, and in my case, it's myself, that the other person is not yet there or doesn't need me yet, or needs something different, something more customized. And with that in mind, sales become easier and lighter, and especially it's about the communication where you are there in order to help your other person's, your client's issue, problem, or challenge. And with this in mind, it's a completely different setup. It's not like I'm selling you this pen because this pen is the only pen in the world or whatever bullshit. I don't know. No, the point is the connection. If you listen actively, you know what the other person needs, and then you can say, okay, listen, I can offer you that. Is this what you need? Is this what you want? Is there something else you need? So why would you like me to sell you cups of tea?
That's true. You could find something else. Yeah, that's actually one of the most important points is that looking for the solution or understanding the solution that the person is looking for or the problem that they want to overcome, right? Yeah. Maybe I don't need teacups right now, so that's a good point.
You seem like you would like to have more skills on negotiation.
Yeah, I would be interested in that. Where do I sign?
I don't know. Do we have enough time right now?
Yeah, we have some minutes still.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Practice session. I still love to know. Yeah, where you said you wanted to recommend some books or something where people can dive deeper, and maybe we could talk a little bit about those, the ones that really sparked this negotiation fire.
Yeah. Well, there's the evergreen, which is Getting to Yes. Getting to Yes describes the Harvard project, to be more precise, the Harvard negotiation style. And that is a very cerebral negotiation style, a very thoughtful and a style where you work with emotions from the perspective of your intellectual capacity. And that's the issue with this kind of negotiation skill, because if the other person is smarter, the other person will outsmart you. And that's it. So, I mean, in practice, it's not that easy because, of course, intelligence is a very fluid construct in our head, and somebody is not always the same amount of intelligent each day. Like when I don't drink a coffee in the morning, I'm not intelligent until late lunch. So, but it's still a very good primer in order to get the basic pathways for yourself to get a framework for negotiation. Okay, so my personal favorite is a different one, and I literally have it always ready. Now I prepared it for our conversation anyways. It's this one here, and as you can see, it's my working book. Nice. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This one here advocates for the hostage negotiation leadership style, which is basically a negotiation style where you are actually in a leadership position and you are aware of the pressure and the speed and the pacing that the other person needs. And there are several very, very nicely put together techniques are described in this book that help you for negotiation that goes way faster and doesn't require so much brain power in order to move forward. When I say it doesn't require that much brain power, I mean you can focus way more on the content of your conversation, and you don't need to focus so much on the scaffolding of your building. So that's where the speed comes in. You become way more flexible and way faster in the negotiation style.
What were the biggest takeaways from that book?
The biggest takeaways, labeling, for instance. I'm a huge fan of labeling. And this mirroring technique. So you already got that because those are just amazing techniques.
Just amazing.
The only thing that I don't like about this book is it is very practical. However, it doesn't have so many examples. Luckily, there is a second book, and I literally got this a couple of days ago, Ego, Authority, Failure. Derek Gaunt is one of the people who worked together with Eric Voss. And this book describes the failure of us if we take ourselves too serious while using the hostage negotiation leadership style.
Oh, wow. So it's like an opposite of that book.
No, it's not. It's not an anti book. It's more like the natural extension of the book, the DLC, if you want.
Yeah.
Because here are way more practical examples on how to apply labeling, how you can use those no-oriented questions, how you can actually figure out this black swan that is hidden in the conversation with the other person. By black swan, I mean the one little thing that completely changes the negotiation for the other person. This one detail that is the game changer, the ultimate thing that if it becomes obvious, completely rearranges the negotiation. So yeah, those two books, awesome. I can recommend them. I got here the small sized book, and here the normal sized one.
Of Never Split the Difference and Ego, Authority, Failure for the one.
Exactly, yeah.
That's very cool. So I had read the Never Split the Difference. I haven't read the other one. And yeah, no, I noticed everything. I could at least realize what techniques you would sometimes do. But actually the Black Swan one is probably the one that I understood the least from Never Split the Difference. So if they explain that even more in the Ego, Authority, Failure, that's really interesting to dive deeper into that. Precisely,
yeah. The biggest thing, how you can uncover this black swan, this crucial little detail, is basically the active listening part. That's a very, very, very basic answer, but it's the starting point where you can start jumping off into the space somewhere far away.
And of course, for terrorism, negotiation is probably a bit harder, but in the everyday life, this is something that can be easily used, I think. Awesome.
Precisely, yeah.
Is there anything that hasn't been mentioned or something you would like to add on to what negotiation is all about?
If there is one thing I would really be happy if tomorrow happens, when everybody is able to negotiate really nicely, then it is that people actually watch out for themselves. And by watch out, I mean being aware, being present in the conversation, listening to what the other person is saying, and from what they heard, also constructing a meaningful answer. There are so many people who, you talk to them and you see that they don't listen to you because while you talk to them, they are preparing their answer. And it's like, so I'm now talking to a wall or what? Like, if this could change, I would be so happy, because that would give so much more meaning to conversations and to negotiation. Because like presentation, most of our conversations are to more or less extent the negotiation.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, and being able to be more present in conversations is, it's essential in just connecting with people as well on a deeper level. Awesome, man.
Even in training, when people start, well, I'm missing this kind of detail, or I would like to have more information on that. It is a negotiation between how much time can I afford cutting off from the rest of the training in order to answer this question. And even if you have enough buffer time and mess time, or however you would like to call it, it's still like, it is a trade-off. How much can you use for this question and for the next question? So there is negotiation included there as well.
Yeah, that's the negotiating with yourself, which is probably even harder.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So what would you, well, you kind of answered this question already, but what would you ask people to take action on after listening to this podcast?
Practice the mirroring. The technique I demonstrated before is a very, very easygoing technique in order to practice your active listening for those significant 3 words that the other person said, or for the significant phrase that the other person said. And when you are active listening for those most important words, then you will notice if you got the correct words, the other person will, it will feel like, oh, they are growing, or they are like blossoming, and like they are understood. You can see that they are happy, that they feel understood. Sometimes it is such a transformative view if you just give the right words back. Also, if you don't get the right phrase or the right words, excuse me, then you just practice. You continue practicing, because you will eventually get this sensitivity to distinguish between, okay, those are two significant phrases. Which one is more significant, or which one is more helpful for the current conversation? And there you go. It's a very easy technique, which is very impactful.
Awesome. So mirroring, which is basically, repeating the last significant phrase or part of the phrase that the person said, right?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome,
actually, I as I said, I'm a very huge fan of this book, Never Split the Difference. I actually bought the smaller version. So I have here my old book, which is the same edition. It's just slightly bigger. And since I'm traveling a lot, I required a smaller one. And I would be willing to give this away for whoever likes it.
Awesome idea, Philipp. Yeah, so we wanted to do this giveaway since he has an extra copy of Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Also, Chris Voss has a mastermind, which is pretty cool. But this book, what we were thinking is that for anybody who wants to participate in the giveaway, we'll make it super simple. All we need you to do is to take a screenshot or share this podcast episode wherever you're listening to it. Share it on your social media, either Instagram stories, or maybe you do a post on LinkedIn or Facebook, and tag myself, Oskar Woehr, and Philipp Effenberger, as well as Trainersforum. That way, we can see it, can track it, and the person and then we'll do a random draw from everybody a couple of weeks after this podcast airs.
Very good, very good. Actually, if you want to tag me, or you need to tag me in order to get the book, my tag is at Unleash Your Talents. So Unleash Your Talents is my project where I support young or future leaders in order to grow their entrepreneurship, or of course also their leadership skills, to become inspiring leaders and not just get stuck on being managers.
Awesome. Yeah, and where else can people connect with you? So you have all the social medias, and what are they in each social media?
Actually, no, not all social medias, because social media does take a lot of time, and I would like to have the time available for my coachings, because they are more important to me. You can catch me on Instagram, Unleash Your Talents, or on LinkedIn, where you can find me as Philipp Effenberger, or just like I said, Unleash Your Talents as well. Unleash Your Talents is actually a project that I have together with my colleague Philipp Effenberger, who is coming from supply chain, where I initially came from IT security, like way back when I was still in techniques or technology businesses working. Unleash Your Talents is the project where you can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn, or Philipp Effenberger on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. And you said you had a website as well?
Oh, of course. Yeah, website. That's actually in a rebuild. So I'm expanding from German only to international. Nice. And the website is www.pe-training.at. It's for an Austrian site. It's actually nice. Philipp Effenberger -training.at. So it's not so creative.
Perfect, man.
Not yet.
Everything will be in the description in any case. Awesome.
Very good. Cool.
Thank you so much for this insightful and probing conversation. I really enjoyed it, Philipp.
I'm very happy. Very happy. Cool.
Thank you so much, man.